grandmother stands in her garden, brushing dirt from a freshly dug potato. Nearby, chickens scratch beneath a fruit tree. A pot of soup simmers on the stove. The ingredients came from the garden, the orchard, the hens, and the neighbors down the road. Nothing traveled thousands of miles. Nothing required a complex supply chain. Nothing depended on a distant corporation or international policy. For most of human history, this was normal. Food was local. Food was seasonal. Food was personal. But today, conversations about food increasingly take place in conference halls, international organizations, and global forums. Experts debate sustainability. Governments discuss climate goals. Researchers propose new dietary frameworks intend to improve both human and planetary health. Some see these efforts as necessary responses to environmental challenges. Others worry that centralized food policies risk overlooking local realities, cultural traditions, and individual nutritional needs. Tonight, we're exploring one of the most important questions of our time. Who should decide what's on your plate? We'll examine the EAT, E-A-T, Lancet Commission, the Lancet Commission, Global Food System Reform discussions, concerns about food sovereignty, and why homesteading, local food production, and responsible animal husbandry may play a critical role in building resilient communities.
Welcome, witches, pagans, heathens, spiritualists, and anyone interested in living sustainably. This is
Old Ways, New Days, where the old ways meet the good dirt.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Nell. And each week we explore the sacred art of living close to the land. From compost to covens, chickens to charms,
We're reclaiming self-sufficiency, seasonal living, and ancestral wisdom.
whether you're stirring your cauldron or your soup pot,
This is a space for wild-hearted folk walking the homesteading path with intention, magic, and muddy boots. Welcome back.
how's it going, Kayla?
Good. How are you now?
Oh, tired. It
Aw.
was a rough weekend. A
Yeah.
long weekend.
Well, you had your pool tournament, right?
I did.
Awesome. And how did you guys do?
We lost out in the semifinals.
Okay.
It was a tough battle. I needed to win one more game, but I fell short.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a team effort. I can't put it all on my shoulders because I did have a teammate that didn't win a single game.
No. Well,
So, but
you can't win them all, right?
right. If I would have won one more game, we would have went into the finals. And then who knows what would have happened.
Okay. Well, but you came close, and there's always next year.
Correct. But
And
I like to give my teammate crap that, hey, you would have pulled your weight and at least won one game.
right. So you finally put some plants in.
I did.
I asked you what they were, and you just said stuff.
Stuff. It's just flowers to hopefully bring in some pollinators and butterflies and hopefully, well, they're ones that deer do not like.
Okay.
So, because I do have a lot of deer over there.
Yes.
So the deer would not bother these plants, which is nice.
Well, that's good.
And then I also planted, because the last few Sundays we've been raking up the front yard, trying to get that taken care of at least.
So it's a little more presentable.
Yeah. looks more yardish, but right now it kind of looks more like a pile of dirt. But I planted some wildflower seeds that attract hummingbirds and butterflies.
Oh, very nice.
Because I do have a hummingbird feeder out there.
Okay.
And they love it. So I also got a raspberry bush that's growing pretty decently. A blueberry bush that I had to cover because the deer ate it.
Yep, those pesky deer.
And I have a lilac bush growing now.
Nice, nice. I know I have picked 2 strawberries for my strawberry patch. The first one was extremely tart.
Weird.
I know.
Yeah, that's another thing. I have a raised garden bed that I had strawberries growing in. There were some strawberries on it, and then one day they were gone.
Could be squirrels. It could have been deer, I suppose.
I'm sure it was deer.
Yeah.
The way that they were eaten.
Chomped.
Chomp. Because the plants were still there.
Okay.
Because squirrels will dig up most of the plant. And
yeah. It could have been birds. Birds like to pick the berries apart if it was just the berries that were missing.
Yeah, but it was a good portion of the stem too. Like,
okay.
You could tell it was a deer.
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about, it's going to be a little bit more on the political side of things. I know we try to tend to stay away from that, but I wanted to talk because I go down rabbit holes on YouTube all the time. It's my way of relaxing, believe it or not.
Of course.
And I came across a YouTuber who I do not remember, unfortunately, who had talked about Eat Lancet, or the Eat Lancet Commission. And they were proposing a global dietary change, restricting red meat to 4 ounces a week, 1 egg per day.
Well, I'm over my limit today. I had 2.
I had 3.
I had a 2-egg omelet before that came over.
Yeah. And so while doing, the research for this, we're just going to touch upon it. We're not really going to go in depth. So I definitely encourage our listeners, if you want to know more, look up the Eat Lancet Commission. It is capital E, capital A, capital T, hyphen Lancet, which is spelled Lancet Commission. It is, so what they are is it's a group of scientists that established this consortium in 2019. They are a mix of nutritional experts and environmental researchers, and they came together under what has now become known as the Eat Lancet Commission. Their goal was, of course, ambitious. It was to propose a dietary pattern that could both support human health and environmental sustainability, which is awesome.
Right.
But they're already implementing it, or at least they were going to start implementing it in public schools in California, some schools for like school lunches in a few European countries. Like, they have their hands in too many pockets, in your perspective, in my personal point of view. All right, so the result of all of this data that they put together is the planetary health diet. The framework emphasized fruits and vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's all very healthy. And they generally recommended lower consumption of red meat than is typical in many industrialized nations. Supporters argue that food systems contribute significantly to environmental pressures and that dietary changes may help reduce those impacts. However, critics, of course, raised several concerns. Some questioned whether a single dietary framework, that's global framework, can adequately account for different cultures, different climates, different agricultural systems, and different nutritional needs. After all, what works in a dense urban center may not be appropriate for a rural farming community, and what works in one country may not work in another. The current concern is not simply about nutrition, it's about flexibility.
So, history teaches us something important. Human beings thrive in many different environments. Traditional diets vary dramatically around the world. So, consider Mediterranean communities, Arctic indigenous peoples, pastoral societies, tropical agricultural regions. Each developed food systems suited to their local environment. No single food culture emerged as universally applicable. The concern many farmers and homesteaders express is that broad recommendations can sometimes become rigid policies. When distant institutions create frameworks for billions of people, important local realities may be overlooked. The land itself teaches diversity. Perhaps food systems should do the same.
Organizations such as the World Economic Forum and various United Nations agencies frequently discuss food system transformation. Their concerns often include climate change, food security, resource management, and agricultural sustainability. These discussions can generate strong reactions. Some people welcome international cooperation, others fear increased centralization. It's important to separate documented proposals from speculation. Neither the World Economic Forum nor the United Nations has the authority to dictate what individuals eat globally. However, their influence can shape conversations, funding priorities, and policy recommendations. This raises a legitimate question. How much influence should large institutions have over food systems, and how can local voices remain part of that conversation?
So, food security and food sovereignty are two ideas that are often very confused. Food security means having reliable access to food, where food sovereignty goes further. It asks who controls the food system, who makes the decisions, who owns the seeds, who owns the land, who determines how food is produced. A community may technically have food security while remaining dependent on distant systems. Food sovereignty focuses on maintaining local control and resilience. For many homesteaders, food sovereignty begins with simple acts like growing a garden, saving seeds, learning preservation, supporting local farmers. These activities create participation instead of dependence.
So there are hidden risks of a centralized food system. Modern food systems are incredibly efficient, but efficiency and resilience are not always the same thing. A highly centralized system can produce enormous amounts of food, yet it may also become vulnerable to transportation disruptions, extreme weather, disease outbreaks, and economic instability. Just look at gas prices right now.
Oh, they're so bad.
Recent years have shown how quickly supply chains can be strained. When one part of the system experiences stress, effects can ripple outward. This is why many resilience experts emphasize diversification, not just globally, but locally. 1,000 small gardens may not replace industrial agriculture, but they do create stability. 1,000 backyard flocks create resilience. 1,000 community gardens create options.
So discussions about sustainability food systems often become emotionally charged when animals are involved. So the role of animal husbandry is like your livestock have played an important role throughout human history.
Yes.
So they provide protein, fat, fertility through manure, draft power in traditional systems like the Amish up here. You know, they still use horses
Or oxen to plow their fields.
Yep. Integration into regenerative agriculture. Responsible animal husbandry can support ecological cycles. Chickens convert kitchen scraps into eggs. Goats browse vegetation unsuitable for human consumption. ruminants can utilize grasslands that cannot easily grow crops. This doesn't mean every system is sustainable. Large-scale industrial livestock operations present their own challenges, but neither does it mean that animal agriculture is inherently incompatible with sustainability. The reality is often more nuanced.
Nuanced? I'm increasing your vocabulary.
The reality is often more nuanced.
When people hear homesteading, they often imagine total self-sufficiency. Off-grid, solar power, well, septic.
Yup, you know it. I'm leaving this city.
Yeah. But resilience doesn't require perfection, it requires participation. Maybe that looks like growing tomatoes on a balcony, keeping a small herb garden, raising backyard chickens where legal, learning food preservation, and joining a community garden. Every skill learned reduces vulnerability. Every pound of food grown increases confidence. Every connection with local growers strengthens community resilience. Homesteading is not about escaping society. It's about becoming an active participant in your own food system.
So, yeah. Many people today feel overwhelmed by conversations about climate change, food insecurity, economic uncertainty. These concerns are real, but fear alone rarely creates solutions. Action does. Planting a garden, learning to compost, supporting local agriculture, teaching children practical skills. These actions may seem small, yet resilience is built from many small acts repeated consistently over time. The antidote to helplessness is participation.
Our ancestors lived closer to uncertainty than most of us do today. Harvests failed, weather changed, markets fluctuated, yet communities developed systems that increased resilience. Seed saving, food preservation, animal husbandry, mutual aid, and shared labor. These practices didn't eliminate risk, they reduced dependence. Perhaps that is the lesson worth recovering. Not fear, not isolation, but capacity.
So the food of the future. The future of food will likely involve difficult conversations about sustainability, about nutrition, about climate, about economics. Those conversations matter, but so does something else.
The ability of ordinary people to grow food, to learn skills, to build local networks, to understand where their meals come from. Food is never just fuel, it is culture, it is community, it is history, it is relationship.
And perhaps the most resilient future is not one where every person follows the same blueprint.
Perhaps it is one where communities retain the freedom, knowledge, and responsibility to nourish themselves in ways that fit their land, their traditions, and their needs.
Because the closer we move toward the source of our food,
the closer we often move toward resilience itself.
And that may be one of the oldest lessons the land still has to teach.